Hey y'all, welcome to another Bible study. This time I just kind of did what I do, and I'm doing a voiceover to just kind of take you through all of what I did in my Goodnotes app. So, of course, I have to start off with some good music. So, I'm just picking out a playlist from Apple Music, one that's already curated, and I settled on the Creative Focus playlist. And I love Apple Music. They really do have a good amount of playlists like for chill. If you want to go to real good playlists, I think Spotify might be a little bit better, but don't tell Apple I said that. So I've been studying the attributes of God lately. I downloaded this PDF off of an email that I got. If I have that information, I'll make sure that I link it below. But I started off just kind of going over what I learned last week, making sure that I starred things that really stood out to me. And now I'm ready for my lesson for today. So, with the attributes of God, the PDF or the Bible study started off with a few definitions. First, what an attribute is. And so, an attribute of something is a quality that is intrinsic to it. And so, in the Goodnotes app, it's really good because you can literally highlight, you can define, you can copy, and you can even have the app read to you. So here I'm defining what intrinsic is so that I can get a deeper understanding of it. And so with the intrinsic definition, I literally can just highlight the definition and then copy it, and then I can insert it into my document so that I won't have to define it again. So that's an easy way where I pull off definitions from the dictionary, put them in my document so that I can refer to them at all times. So here I'm underlying key things that tell me and help me to define attributes even further. So here it says that the attributes of God are qualities essential to his character. So big key words here. We know that an attribute has to be something that is essential to God's character, and it has to be revealed in scripture. So an attribute has to be intrinsic, which is belonging naturally. That word essential comes up in that definition as well. So the qualities are essential to his character and they must be revealed in scripture. So I'm putting this at the top of the page so that I can just kind of highlight what that definition is, especially since that is the main subject of this Bible study. When I go through Bible studies, I always make sure that I ask myself questions, as the Bible study really is just to usher you into your own study. So not only are you supposed to read the actual Bible study and what is already in it, but you're also supposed to ask questions and ask the Lord to reveal what it is that he wants to reveal to you. So here I ask the question, why must it be revealed in scripture? and it's because the word is God. So when we're trying to find out who God is, then we always go to the word because the word is God. Quick tip on creating the perfect shape. So if you hold down the pencil after you've created whatever shape you want, it'll snap into that shape. So here I snapped into a rectangle, and then I just hit on the line that I created just to resize it around the wording. So still studying attribute, the actual definition of the word, I continue to highlight that the attributes are sometimes referred to as the perfections of God. So the attributes are what make God who he is. They are the perfection of his character. Here I'm highlighting the prompt that the Bible study asked me to do, which is to memorize this sentence. So it has to be of some importance, right? So the sentence is, God is a spirit, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable in his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, truth, love, and sovereignty. So I wanted to make sure that I put this in my personal Bible study as well, so that when I go to refer to it, I can just use my planner to actually look at what I've studied for that day. I love the screen sharing component. You can share two Goodnotes screens, which makes it so easy to actually study the material without having to go back and forth. So I shared my personal planner, and if you guys want this planner, it will be linked in the bio. It's my first digital planner, which I'm super excited about. First of many. But here I'm just going to write out exactly what I am doing in this Bible study. So again, with the Bible study, you always start out with a prayer. So I'm just going back and putting all that I've done already into my app, into my planner, so that I can refer back to it whenever. So at the bottom right hand corner of the Mind, Body, Spirit Bible study page, there's a section for a memory verse. I'm going to use my lasso tool to take a screenshot of that gray box, and then I'm going to copy it, and then I'm going to paste it so that I can cover the actual wording, and it still looks as if it's just a clear box. And I'm going to use the text box to create another text that says memory sentence with the same font. So I use this font for the planner. I created it through the Calligrapher website. You can make your own fonts. I'll show you a tutorial on how to do that later. But I'm going to use that same font to create a text box that reads out memory sentence instead of memory verse. And so you can customize your planner if it's this one or any other planner. If you just use that tip, you just make a screenshot, hit copy, paste it to wherever section that you want to hide, and then you can customize it to your liking. Another reason why I love this screen sharing so much is that I can just copy from one part of the app to the next. So I'm just copying the sentence that I want to put into my planner, and then I'm going to paste it onto the planner where I want it to go. Change the color so I can see it, and easy peasy, there you have it. So again, that sentence is, God is a spirit, infinite, eternal, and unchangeable in his being, wisdom, power, holiness, justice, goodness, truth, love, and sovereignty. And that sentence summarizes all the attributes of God. As we continue with this study, there are two more definitions that we need to know, the categories of God's attributes. And so there is incommunicable
and communicable. And y'all, I had to use the speak option on these words so that I make sure I got them right. So again, remember, you can hold down whatever word, group of words that you want the app to speak to you, and it will recite them for you. So you can have a read out loud feature. So when I study, I like to use the highlighter tool as a way to kind of usher me into the definitions of the words, which ones group together. So the highlighter can be a great tool for you to organize your studying. So here I'm highlighting both words, but I'm going to change the color of communicable so that it's a different color and we can see which one of the attributes are incommunicable and which ones are communicable. And so you'll see me here, I'm going to just lasso around the highlight and then I'm going to change the color so that I can kind of compare the two to each other. So here I'm just grabbing that same color and I'm underlining the definition of the word. So incommunicable means that these attributes only apply to God. Okay, and so the communicable attributes are those that should be present in man in at least some partial way. Remember, we are created in the image of God, so of course we have some attributes that God has, even though they're not fully, we don't have them fully, but we do have them, or we should have them at least in some partial way. And again, here I'm following along with the Bible study and allowing it to help me understand more fully about what this attribute word or the attributes of God really are. And so it prompted me to circle the attributes that would be considered incommunicable and then underline the ones that would be considered communicable. So instead, I'm going to use the same highlighter color that I used to highlight the words above, and I'm going to go through each word, figure out which category it belongs to, and I'm just going to use that same highlighter to highlight around the words that belong to that category. So remember, incommunicable is an attribute that only applies to God. So when you go through the list, you see infinitude, which is the word that we defined earlier in the study. And infinitude basically means that God is infinite. So we know that that does not belong to man. So that is something that only applies to God. And then again, we see eternality, sovereignty, immutability. And again, I'm using that definition tool, that dictionary tool, to help me define what the words that I really don't know. So that is a great thing. I love this about Goodnotes. I'm pretty sure a lot of PDF documents or whatever you have, you can just click on a word and hit look up or define, and you have the dictionary right there. So please utilize that tool. It's great. Okay, so again, I'm just going through each one and I'm trying to find the category that it belongs to, and I'm just copying and pasting the highlighter so I won't have to continue to highlight. Copy and paste is my best friend. The attributes that I found to be communicable are those that should be present in man in at least some partial way, are power, love, holiness, justice, goodness, truth, wisdom, and being. So these are attributes that should be present in man. Keynote, should, at least some partial way. And just to know, some Bible studies don't actually tell you if you got the answers correct. So this is the time when you seek God and you ask Him to reveal the answers to you. You go to the scripture, you make sure that you are looking up these words and finding context in the verses so that you can seek God for who He actually is and for who He wants us to be through Him and in His image. So I'm going to my Bible app. I copied the scripture reference that the Bible study had after I asked the question, what does each of these passages say about God's infinitude? And remember, infinitude is the state or quality of being infinite or having no limit. So the first scripture is Job 11:7-9, and it reads, "Can you solve the mysteries of God? Can you discover everything about the Almighty? Such knowledge is higher than the heavens. And who are you? It is deeper than the underworld. What do you know? It is broader than the earth and wider than the sea." So, infinitude, having no limit, can we solve the mysteries of God? The answer is no. God, we can only know about God what He wants and chooses to reveal to us. Such knowledge is higher than the heavens, is deeper than the underworld, is broader than the earth, and is wider than the sea. So, no, we will not be able to fully know Him, and that literally defines what infinitude is. It's having no limit. We will never know. So here I'm using that same highlighter that I used for all of the incommunicable attributes, and I'm highlighting that definition of the word infinitude. And I'm pulling out those key words and sentences that I read out earlier to better translate or define what that word actually is. So again, such knowledge is higher than the heavens, it's deeper than the underworld, it's broader than the earth, and wider than the sea. And so I'm just basically summarizing what I got out of this scripture, and that is, again, that we will never be able to solve the mysteries of God or fully know Him. So, reading the footnote, and this is a footnote that came from the word communicable, it says, "An important thing to remember about defining God's attributes is we must not start with characteristics of man and then merely make extensions to describe God. God is not merely described by these characteristics, God is these things in the ultimate sense, fully. These characteristics find their authorship in God. God is the creator of all. So He is the author of whatever these attributes mean. They literally can be defined. Again, they are perfected in God. So it says, for an example, God does not simply take on the attributes of love and justice. God is love and justice." And so another tutorial or clip on how I make block letters. And so I always like to make my spreads look, really bold, really pretty. I want to be able to look at the Bible study and really see what it is that I studied, help it to bring back to my remembrance. So I'm using this bold and funky, cute bold font, and I get all of my fonts from thefont.com. And so I'm using this font to put in some block letters. So I copied the text that I already typed out, and then I changed the color on the new text box, and I'm just aligning it so that it kind of creates this shadow look for the 3D block letters. And then I'm going to create some highlights. So I just grab a small white color pen and I just create the highlights wherever the shadows aren't. So the highlights come to the left as the shadow goes to the right. And so I'm just going to continue to do this throughout. And so that is it. That is the first page of my Bible study. I'm going to continue on my own. Thank y'all for studying with me. I hope you learned something. I hope you got inspiration on how to go throughout your own Bible study. And I can't wait till you come back and join me another time. Make sure you subscribe, like, comment, share if you like the content. And until then, God bless you all. Have a great day. Be safe out there. All love.